The biggest mistake I see agencies making is, well, we have a lot of clients in automotive, a lot of clients in healthcare, and a lot of clients in law. So we're going to go after 3 different niches. And that's a huge distraction if one person's in charge of those 3 niches. Okay, so I just got off a call with a client and we talked through a number of different issues that he was actually having. And this particular agency had a COO. They were right over the million mark. They were paying the COO a lot of money and they were going after a number of different niches. And so they were all over the place. And there's a couple things that we kind of break down in this conversation about what they needed to correct and what things that they needed to avoid and what do we need to change. So when we started looking for other verticals and more opportunities that we could go after, we would bring in a practice director. That practice director would be like you, right? Like you're the expertise in the e-commerce space, okay? And so then once you bring in your operator to fill your vision, to execute on the vision that you set for this one vertical, they're going to document that, right? And then once you have that, like I said, like after a year, 2 years, and you're dominating that, then you can bring in a practice director for another division. So then you're taking all those standard operating procedures and everything you've learned from that one vertical and then implementing that into the next. And then you do that over and over again. But you have to figure out that model that works for you, that works for your market that you're going after. And then it's kind of like a franchise, right? It's just like, boom, boom, you're just deploying. And that's what we did. Like we did that around content management, then we did that in the higher education space, then we did it in the automotive. And we just kept bringing in more practice directors that could be the so-called expert, lead that team, and then have, it's basically like mini companies under each other. Does that make sense? Exactly. I mean, that's why it's so important. Like we all get started in our businesses by accident. And, you know, then we have to kind of a couple years go down the road and we're like, why are we at this cap? We need to figure out like, well, okay, what do we want to do when we grow up? What do we want to do when we get bigger? And why? And really understanding why, right? So like I always tell people, our whole driving factor between what we do at our company now is to create a resource that I wish I had when I was running my agency. That's the whole driving force, right? And the vision is to be the #1 resource in the world for agency owners. But our why is to provide a resource we wish we had. And then I communicate that to the team and I communicate that often, right? So then they can call me on my BS. So like, I don't know if I was telling you, but, or a couple weeks ago, we were doing an article on the best conferences to go if you're an agency. And there was a couple conferences that my team listed and I was like, I don't like these guys. Like they were good conferences, but I didn't like them. And I was like, well, why'd we list them? And my team was able to call me out because of the why, right? They were able to make a better decision because they were like, it's not about you, it's what's best for the audience, right? Because I was giving them the power to make decisions without coming to me, right? And I felt like your COO at the time didn't have the vision, wasn't the right person, and couldn't make decisions without coming to you. All right, so a couple things that you heard from the conversation is you have to really focus on one vertical at a time. And once you have that, and literally you're focused on that vertical and you start dominating it, and I'm talking about 9 months to 2 years, right? Until you branch off, because you have to understand what's making it work and come up with standard operating procedures and come up with best practices. And then what you can do is then you can start having and bringing someone in that can lead that, right? And I started in the conversation talking about practice directors, and the practice directors or those leaders that's going to follow those directions. And you as a leader, you're a visionary. You're giving them where we're actually going, and then the COO or the practice directors, they're operators. They're going to take that vision and then they're going to execute on it in the best way that they know how. And when you do this, now you can start branching into new markets and having multiple people running those. Look, you can't be the expert in all industries. Look, the biggest mistake I see agencies making is, well, we have a lot of clients in automotive, a lot of clients in healthcare, and a lot of clients in law. So we're going to go after 3 different niches. And that's a huge distraction if one person's in charge of those 3 niches. The way you need to do it is have 3 practice areas. So 1 person per niche leading that team, following those standard operating procedures, following what worked for that one niche that you tried out. Look, it's just like Facebook when they first started out. They didn't start going after everybody all at once. They picked one niche, right, which was Harvard students. And then once they mastered that, they went off to the Ivy League schools, and then colleges and universities and high schools. And then they branched into ex-girlfriend and boyfriend stalking each other. And then you've got to start small. Everything big starts off small. So start with a niche, figure out what's working, and then gradually grow that. And then as you're growing that, you're bringing practice directors or whatever you want to call them in. Give them a vision of where you want the agency going. Give them a vision of where you want the practice going. And if they're the right people, the right operator, then they'll take it to the next level. All right, so I want to hear your comments. Make sure you reach back out to us. Your comments are my fuel, so keep them up. If you're not yet subscribed, make sure you subscribe. And if you have any questions, make sure you go to jasonswenk.com/askswenk. And until next time, have a swank day.